And our studio guest this morning is the Leader of the Greens, Senator Bob Brown. But first we'll see what the Sunday papers are covering around the country. And in the Sunday Telegraph, under the headline Labor Pains, a rather curious story, Lenore, allegations of a whispering campaign about the poor behaviour of a federal government minister.
That's right. It's talking about an unnamed MP who has approached the Prime Minister's office with unnamed indiscretions by an unnamed minister. It says that Canberra is awash with speculation about this unnamed indiscretion. I've got to say I haven't heard any such speculation. We've had a bit of a chat on the couch here this morning and come up with a few theories about who it might be.
But I think we're 0 out of 4 in terms of
any evidence or anything clear, I don't know who it is, I don't know what they're alleged to have done, and I therefore do not see how it's in the public interest to write about it.
When we came in, none of us knew about it, so I think it's beating up a story that's of small significance. And when I made a phone call to find out what it was about, it's about a not sure rumour about a personal behaviour of a bloke that, even if it was true,
would probably not amount to a row of beans.
Would amount to not a row of beans, and I don't know what it is doing, being floated as a part of a, trashing exercise on behalf of this person's enemies in the paper.
The thing is, it is true, as the paper says, that in a hung parliament, the behaviour, any such indiscretion, any scandal can have disastrous consequences. That's certainly true.
That's true.
And if you've got evidence of such a scandal, then it's a big story, but I don't see any evidence.
All right, we'll move on now to, and we've got some pictures in overnight of Julia Gillard, who's now at the moment in Hanoi at the East Asia Summit. And though the summit had a rather crowded agenda, most of the reporting this morning focuses on Julia Gillard's meeting with the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, who will be coming to Australia for the first time in that role. She'll be in Melbourne next week as part of the AUSMIN talks. That's the annual discussions between the foreign ministers and the defence minister. But nothing, Andrew, that we heard overnight that suggests she's any more focused on foreign policy than she was a week ago.
Look, I thought it was really interesting. When you looked at the reporting of her visit there, you saw a long list of people she met and a hug that she had with Hillary Clinton. You saw absolutely nothing about any initiative, any deep insight, nothing. I mean, it really confirmed what she said in Brussels in a previous trip, was that, perhaps she's more comfortable sitting in a classroom watching children being taught. This is a real problem because it's a vacuum that'll be filled by others, like most of the story of a government, a vacuum being filled by others. And in this case, Kevin Rudd puts out a press release on Burma that's more detailed than anything she's said.
Yeah, well, she will be, though, discussing foreign policy with Jim Middleton on Asia-Pacific Focus, an interview she's done overnight. But the part we'll play you now relates to the potential merger of the stock exchanges in Singapore and Australia. She had this to say.
It was raised by the Singaporean Prime Minister, and we both very much agreed that whilst there's going to be media interest in these matters and community interest in these matters, and we both understood that, we also both understood that there is a clear process to be gone through here, a clear process from the Australian point of view with our Foreign Investment Review Board, and that process would be gone through.
Doesn't something like this just give ammunition to those who would re-regulate the economy, take it back down the time tunnel, as Paul Keating might have said?
Well, I certainly hope that no one would seek to criticise or disturb what have been long-standing and bipartisan arrangements to assessing foreign investment and assessing it through the prism of our national interest. That's what the Foreign Investment Review Board does.
Now, Lenore, in this case, it's politically difficult because ordinarily this would be the call of the Treasurer.
Yeah,
but because of the circumstances, this has to go to Parliament as well.
Because it's the Australian Securities Exchange, it also is a disallowable instrument in both houses of Parliament. And that means it's not just got to run the gauntlet of the Treasurer deciding what's in the national interest, which is left nice and vague by the foreign investment provisions for the Treasurer to really figure out in the end. It's also got to win the approval of both houses of Parliament, where there's a disparate range of views, including Bob Brown this week, suggesting that we take human rights considerations into account when making these kind of economic decisions. So, it's got a long way to go, this suggestion.
Well, we've actually been observing this now for the last 2 or 3 years. Australia, the last country standing after the GFC, just doesn't want to start to punch above its weight in the region. And these sorts of debates, now I'm not going to comment on the whys and wherewithals of the particular transaction, but you would think that this is about us stepping up as a financial hub. That's one of the reasons why we're being courted. The rest of the world looks at us and sees a nation that's doing quite well. But every time one of these transactions confronts our political system, we all go, hang on a minute, we don't want to touch it.
Doesn't it depend a bit on the content of the merged entity? Is it a
that's
takeover? Is it a merger?
That's why I don't want to.
Those are all valid questions for the politicians to ask.
But the noise we hear is stop. For God's sake, don't let us get too big. Don't let us go global. Stop. I'm a little afraid of success. That's what it seems to me at the moment.
Said more in 1 minute about the issues at stake than Julia Gillard has said as Prime Minister. And this is what I find amazing. That clip that you just saw was all about process, nothing about the merits or nothing about the issues at stake here. And I think this is just, again, another small reflection of the fact that this is a government that's without an agenda and desperately at sea.
To be fair, Andrew, both sides of Parliament...
She's out of her depth.
Joe Hockey and Wayne Swan are both treading carefully on this one because they don't want to send the wrong signals. They want to actually assess the facts. And I actually think that's the proper course for both sides, both major parties to do. I think they should tread carefully, not feed any sort of xenophobic fears, look at it on its merits, and I actually think that's what they're both doing.
I agree, but I agree that you don't want to be feeding xenophobia, but on the other hand, you do want to be raising in the public debate what the issues at stake are.
You're actually right, Andrew. I mean, she ought to start talking like she's in charge, and I don't get the sense that she's in charge yet.
And that's right, and that's where you get the Bob Brown coming along with his agenda and then characterising it, giving it a spin that you're finding unacceptable, the xenophobia.
Now, Andrew, a thief in Sydney apparently picked the wrong target.
Yes, a thief in Sydney, a woman reached out to the Governor-General's handbag, which was, of course, not her own, and skedaddled with it. But, of course, the Governor-General does not go shopping or anywhere else without security, and this woman is now having to answer some questions to the police. But I thought it was really interesting because one of the readers of my blog wrote to complain a few days ago how I'd seen the Governor-General shopping and making the detail with her carry her shopping bags and thought this was a disgrace, but maybe the Governor-General has learned quick smart.
OK, that's the Sunday papers, and very shortly we'll be joined from Hobart by the Greens leader Bob Brown. Just before then, the moment of the week had to be this, when 6 weeks after the event, the media finally discovered there'd been a challenge for the deputy leadership of the Greens.